Okay, in this video we're going to be printing off and fixing some of the dome pieces and also preparing some of the body base for later on. However, before we do that, I'd like to say a big thank you to Horlicks, Peninsula Painting Projects, Chris Campling, P40F20, Love Minis, USS Boom and David Fenn. Thank you for your comments. So, hello, welcome to episode 3. Now, firstly, an apology. Last week we printed off Basering number 1 and I didn't actually show you. So this is it. Unfortunately, it's not really that exciting on its own. It's a little bit of a case of the sum of the parts. There will be 6 of these in total, and this will form the bottom of the body. The skirt will go on underneath and the rest of the body will build up on top. So we'll have this, well, this week we will print off Basering number 2 and then we'll pop that to one side. From next week we'll be printing off at least 2 pieces every week, and then that way we'll get the body done. Now these will just sit in a box for a few weeks until we need them, but we've got other work to carry on with. Once we come to needing the body pieces, these will be ready for us. So last week we did the dome pieces, and this is dome piece number 6, which I'm very happy with it. You can see it's a little bit rough. That's not a problem because we are going to sand this down and then we'll fill it and then we'll sand it again. We'll make it look really smooth, and in all fairness, regardless any quality that you print it on, it's going to need some sanding, so that's absolutely fine. Now we also printed dome piece number 5, and this was actually technically speaking a failed print. You can see that it stopped printing round about there. So rather than print off the whole lot again, we just printed the top piece off, and we made sure we printed too much off so that we can cut them down. So we'll bring these two to meet each other rather than having to bring it up or guess the exact. Now unfortunately it's going to be a lot easier if once we attach these we have 2 sides. That will add support to this. Once that support is added, we can then work on cutting this down to match this. So what we actually need to do next is print off the next 2 dome pieces, which is dome piece 3 and dome piece number 4. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm going to just load up all the files, and I've actually lost, there we are, there we go. So I'm going to load up the files, and just for convenience what I'm going to do is I'm going to load them all up in one file. I will confess I did lose the actual footage, so I won't be able to show you it actually printing. So as before, what we do is we rotate this print so that it's flat on the bed. I did actually find out, I had a lovely chat with M.R. Badley, the author of these. There is a function that allows you to what they call lay flat. So if, for example, this is how the file is, and you can see there it's not laying flat on the bed, so you could just, this one here, lay flat, and there you go, it lines it all up so it's flat with the bed. So I'm not actually going to print these, I'm just going to show how it's done. So we move that onto the print bed, and that's gone under the print bed for some reason, so we'll just bring that up. And what I would probably do is just rotate this one so they're both in the same orientation. Now it is dangerous doing such a big print because if one fails they'll probably both fail, so you may actually be safer doing these one at a time, but we'll just do a quick see how long it's going to take doing that. This is on a 0.3 layer height. Now I do a 4 wall line count. You see there it says 4. The reason for having 4 is if you have less than 4, you could sand down, and if you sanded too far, you'd actually take the whole wall off and you'd create a hole. By having a wall count, it's probably overkill, but with a 0.3 layer height, that will give you 1.2 mil thickness. That's an awful lot to sand down. So that's almost finished slicing now. So the time that it will take for both prints is going to be 20 hours. So it's about 10 hours a print, which sounds about right. It is quite a lot of printing, admittedly. And then what we'll do, I don't know if I've had supports on that one. No, that's without supports. Obviously if you put supports on that, that will take a little bit longer. And then we just check the layers. We'll just bring that down to the first layer just to make sure that it has laid on the bed properly. And you can see, oops, you can see that again they've got numbers on the bottom just like the rest of them. And yeah, I'll send that to print, and hopefully we'll have something really nice. Now, because there's a problem with dome piece number 5, it is important that dome piece number 4 comes out absolutely perfect, because if we have to fix that in the same way that we're about to fix piece number 5, we'll have no support next door to sort it out, but hopefully it'll come out fine. Okay, so we're going to put our some of our pieces together. I'm going to start off with the fix for piece number 5. That's the top of the dome, and the first thing we want to do is attach that to the dome piece number 6, and we're going to attach that with any 4mm bolt. These holes are 4mm. I'm using M4 bolts. M, I believe, stands for machine screws or machine bolts, but any 4mm nut and bolt will do the job just for the purposes here. These are actually, well, these particular ones aren't going to be the final ones that I use. I'm using nuts here because obviously I can undo them, and make sure you use a washer. It probably won't make a difference, but if you do slightly over tighten it, it'll just protect the plastic a little bit. So we'll put that on, just finger tight will do. We just want this for position, that's all. And then we'll put on piece number 4 onto the other side, and that will go on like so. Again, you don't have to do this. In fact, it probably would be a lot easier if I'd have just reprinted piece number 5. But I'm quite interested in doing this just to see how easy it is to fix. It may well be that when you take into time the account time and money, it might actually have been better off to just reprint it. So this is what the top of the dome is going to look like. So we now know where the fix is going to end. So what we will do now is we'll line this up properly. I don't know why I've got that piece of paper out. So we need to get ourselves some kind of marker pen. Make sure this is on a flat surface, which this currently isn't. There we go. Line these up, and then if we take a Sharpie or something, not sure if this one does work. So what we're going to do is we're going to mark where the fix ends. Okay, and then the same on this side. I do apologise, there isn't an awful lot of room on my desk. Right, so that is where the fix ends. So I'll show you what I've done to catch up. So we've made our mark from the top, and there's the mark there and one there. So we're now putting the broken piece of 5 in. We put 2 nuts there, and I'm going to put this last one in. So yeah, so those of you familiar with Partworks will know all about what a self-tapping screw is. And a self-tapping screw is you screw the screw in, but as you screw it in, it cuts a thread into what it's screwing into, and that means that it will actually sit there tighter. But the drawback is that once you remove that screw, it'll never go in as well as it did the first time. Now what a nylock nut is, it has plastic inside the nut, so as you put the screw in, it self taps into that nut. Right guys, so I have now put this piece on. So what we now do, we know that the fix is going to come down to there. So because we have this marker, we now know how far we need to cut down to. So we're going to need to cut to about there. So we line that mark up, and then on this side it comes down to there, so we down to about there. This is only approximate, and what will most likely happen is once we cut this bit off and then we put the top bit in, we will most likely end up with a little gap. That's not going to be a problem because we will fill that. Okay, so we have our broken piece of number 5. I'm just going to move this sticker down because that's going to get in the way. I want to keep that on because if I should mix these pieces up, this will tell me which piece it is. You see it's got number 5. So we've got our lines, and what we want to do is we want to cut this top piece off. Now what's going to help us is, because of the nature of 3D printing, it lays down lines on top. It's very hard to see on camera, but there's little ridges where each layer is. So what we can do, we want to continue this line across, and we should be able to do that freehand because all we need to do is just follow that line across. So we'll get our Sharpie and we will gently try to follow. If you push a little bit hard, it will just naturally follow the lines of course it would help if I actually had a Sharpie that works. I'll probably switch to a different colour. So this one doesn't work either. How's about that, guys? It actually does work. So that I followed our line across, and I can keep doing as many lines as I want. So what we're going to do next then is we will cut across there. Now we've got 3 options for cutting. 4 if you include a knife. I'll show you the first method, which is one that I would not advise. If you got yourself a sharp knife, what you can actually do is just cut along that line, and that will score along that line. And then what you do is you then go again over that line and just keep going and keep going, and after about 20 or 30 cuts you'll probably get all the way through. That's going to be really hard work, but if that's all you own, then it is possible. The second method is with either a hobby saw or a hacksaw, and you can cut across there. That would work equally well. I won't be able to do that because I don't actually own one. The third method is quite a clever little method, and that's using a solder iron. And what we can actually do with a solder iron, I'm not going to use the solder iron because I think my 4th method is better, but again we're looking at options that we do actually own. If you have a small tip and you just set the solder iron for quite a low heat, what we can actually do is just gently burn a line through there. Come in a little bit too high, because the nature of it is it's easy to run away, and what you'll do is you'll just gently run a line across there, and then that will you'll eventually get all the way across, and then that will cut that off. We're actually going to be cutting it a little bit too high anyway because we want to just bring this down. We'll do a big cut to get most of it off, and then we'll just gently ease the rest of it down. The method that I'm actually going to use, I'm going to use a Dremel drill, This isn't an actual Dremel drill, so I'll just call it a Dremel style drill, and I've got a cutting wheel on it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to gently make cuts in it. Because of this, I've got it set to a very low speed, speed number 1. Because it's running so quickly, the friction will melt the plastic. You need to be aware of that. So what I'll do now then is I will just gently cut it, and I'm going to start with this piece here, and then obviously I'll still have the sides to cut, and then we'll do those sides last. So remember, we're doing nice gentle cuts. Now, because of the noise of the Dremel, I will remove the sound and I will put the music back on, and then I'll probably speed it up as well, and hopefully we'll make it a nice enjoyable experience. So here we go. Okay guys, so as you can see, I've cut the top off. I did actually snap one of my cutting discs. That was my fault. That's where I went in a little bit too hard. If you go in too hard, you put far too much pressure on it. And as you noticed, I was just gently cutting along. I was cutting the line, and then I was cutting into it. You can see where I've got the infill. Once I've cut through there, the hard bit was then continuing through until we got through to the bottom layer. This little bit helped because it stopped us from going too far down, and obviously as it churns it around, the friction was melting the plastic, and at times what was happening was the bits of plastic were melting. As it cooled down, it then sealed the whole back up, so I did have to go back. So what we'll do now then is we'll pop this back together and we'll see how good my fit is. I'm quite confident that I've actually cut that a little bit too big, and that's what I'm actually aiming for. Okay, so this is our moment of truth. As you can see, I have already attached the bottom half. I've only done it just a rough fit, just finger tight. At this particular point, it doesn't need to be really tight. So what I'll do now is I've got my screws ready, I've got my next piece ready. We'll see if this actually fits, if I need to cut it anymore. So, oh wow, that's gone. Oh, that's not perfect, not perfect. So what I'll need to do is I'll just need to take a little bit more off of this one, and I'll actually do that off camera, but as you can see, it's almost a perfect fit. This sticks out a little bit too much. It's being stopped by this, so we want to take perhaps just a couple of millimeters off, and I'll probably do that with a sander or possibly even the Dremel drill again. So we'll leave that for this week, and that's absolutely fine. To be honest with you, piece number Dome 3, I may actually reprint that, but at the very least what I can do is do this the same way as I've done this. So that's it then. So that's how we fix it. Obviously it's not fully fixed. There is a little bit more work to do, but I've shown you how to do it. We just need to do the fine adjustments. I'm pretty sure that you could do that on your own if you were following along. So now we are beginning to see the size of the dome, and it's massive. It's the only word I can use to describe it. It's massive. It's about 18 inches across. You can see there's my hands on it, and there's my hands on the side. So again, you know, average size hands, it's about 2 hands across. So what we'll do now then is we'll do one more print, and then that will do us for this week. So we'll start on the base ring number 2. Okay, so this is base ring number 2. As you can see, it's got the number 2 on it. It is a different shape from base ring number 1. And then I've already sliced it. It's going to take 4 hours and 18 minutes to print. And we'll just do the quick check on the layers. Make sure we've got a nice firm, nice and firm. There we go. We've got full contact with the bed, and we will send that off to print. Okay, and here's the completed print. It's come out really nice. Again, this, I believe this is done on a 0.2 layer height. I think from piece number 3 onwards I'm doing it at 0.3. And this, we'll bring in piece number 1, and you can see that we've got some dovetail joints here, and they just simply go in like that, like so. Beautiful fit. There is a slight wobble. That's not a problem, and a bit of a sneak preview for you. When we get the other pieces done, they actually fit a lot snugger than that. Once these are glued in, they'll be absolutely fine. So this is the base as it is so far, and this is the dome so far. So we are actually making quite a lot of progress already, because we've been printing some large parts. But like I said, we have got a lot of pieces to go. One thing that I've started to notice, there's a little notch in there, and there's a notch in there, and I believe that this is where the base number 2, the second ring of the base is going to go. So there'll be these little locating pegs already built in, and then the skirt will go underneath, and that will be what these holes here are for. So yeah, that's it guys. Thank you for watching this week. Okay, so that's it for this week, and I really want to thank everybody for making this what looks like a very successful video. I did say to some friends of mine I wanted to just do this as a video diary of my build. I know there's going to be a lot of parts, and there's people out there that have done their builds, and they've done them say over 4 or 5 parts. I wanted to add something a little bit different, a little different angle, and I did say that obviously when I make these videos they're more for my benefit. Perhaps at the end of the build, once it's completed, if I complete it, I can go all the way back and I can watch this video and I can laugh at it, or I can go, yeah, that was really good, what was I talking about, you know, who knows. However, at the time of recording this video, episode 1 has been out about 24 hours, and the response has been absolutely fantastic. I've also had very good response back from M.R. Badley, who's the author of these files, and that means a lot to me, because they're his files, they're his baby. Obviously he wants to look after his baby. He doesn't want them to be just, you know, if someone comes along and just clowns about and messes them about, he's obviously going to be concerned. So when the person who created these files says, yes, I like your video, that means an awful lot to me. Straight away I've gained subscribers and I've got an awful lot of hits. This is probably at this stage my most successful video after my bus videos, but my bus videos have been out quite a while and they've had time to gather momentum, so who knows where this is going to go. So the initial response is that you guys are enjoying it too, which is exactly what I'm after. I'm really enjoying this. I can now see where the project is starting to go. I feel episode 1 was a little bit of a slow start because obviously I had to explain a lot what I was doing. I'm still explaining things, but obviously once I've explained something, I don't need to explain it again in a later video. I also want to give a big shout out to the members of the Astromech Club and the UK R2D2 Builders Club. Um, Now, I've been on their forums now for a few weeks. I've been a member for a few weeks, and the questions that I'm asking are probably really stupid. By stupid, I mean they're proper new beginner questions, and they've probably had to deal with these questions time and time again. And I imagine that the more experienced members are reading my posts and going, "Oh no, here we go again." But they're actually dealing with them in a really nice, helpful manner. I will put the link, if it's not already there, down below. But absolutely brilliant. This is actually a project that you cannot go alone. You really do need support, and I'm just so grateful that there's people out there that can give support. So, on the subject of support, I'd just like to go through the comments for video 1. First of all is Horlicks. Thank you for the comment, Horlicks. He says, great video, Penny. Loved the intro and outros. Really looking forward to seeing this progress. I may come on board and join you later on down the line, but first I'd rather see your build. Don't blame you. If somebody else I saw was taking on a great big project, I probably just want to see how it goes, but also I may be interested in joining. It would be fantastic if you did come on board. I'd love to be able to see someone else's, perhaps you could document it. It could be good fun. Chris Campling has written, with the budgeting it's just like part works, because some parts are not what the magazine is costing and others have expensive parts like PCBs. Now Chris, I will be doing a video, I will be doing a section on one of the later videos on the true costs of the electronics. I think the electronics costs will surprise you. David Fenn writes, one hell of a project. We'll be following to see how it compares to the D'Agostini build. Now the D'Agostini build, this is going to be a massive project, and there are times when I think, or maybe I've taken on too much. Now in theory this should have every feature that the D'Agostini build has, plus anything else I decide, so we will see what happens. P40F20 says, a very ambitious project, best of luck to you with it. I will be following with great interest. Love Minis writes, now I really want a 3D printer. Chris Campling has written again, great video, Penny, love the build. Peninsula Painting Projects has put, this looks very interesting, Penny. I think I'll have to stay tuned for this one, especially because I'm interested in Star Wars and curious about 3D printers. Of course, you realise that statement's made me a little bit nervous, because if people are interested in Star Wars, then that puts me under pressure to get it right. Now USS Boom has written, here is the site that all the R2 builders use, and he's put the link. Now the link is in the description. I have absolutely no problems with the USS Boom highlighting that, because the Astromech forum has helped me an awful lot. I don't even know if I could have got to this stage without their help. And I also do apologise if anybody writes a comment. Now this comment didn't come through straight away. I suspect it was because it's got a link in it, so it was actually held for review. And I didn't realise it would be held for review, so of course I didn't look for it. Since then I do look at my comments held for review a little bit more often. So if anybody does leave a comment in the future, just be aware that it may be held for comments, held for review if you leave a link. So that's it then, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you all next week.